Hey guys, it's me Mr. 250, and welcome back to Memories Dogma Code 1. So like I said last time, we got a little bit farther than this the first time I played, but then I had to re-record it, so the next, 5 minutes or so are gonna be pretty similar for me, but after that it'll all be new. And I've done myself the service of looking down and seeing that I am recording audio, so today is going well so far. So, let's go ahead and continue. Reina and I carried Kakeru through the back alleys, avoiding people as much as we can. Our heavy breathing echoes loudly underneath the dawning city. I glance at Reina, who's running next to me.
大丈夫か?
ええ、まだ平気。
After the incident at Tokyo Graduate Research University, we decided it'd be best to put as much distance between us and Fuchu City as possible. But every time we try to leave the city, we find policemen on lookout and have to turn back. It looks like they've started roping off all the entrances and exits to Fuchu City. They're on high alert now. We thought of taking a train from a station other than Fuchu Station, but the stations were all equipped with security cameras, and it would be nigh impossible to avoid them all. And even if we could, we'd still need to use our MRDs to authorize ticket purchases. And if we managed to somehow solve the verification problem too, we'd stand out too much bringing an injured Kakeru onto the train. So we dropped the idea of escaping by train. Night falls as we continue to run around Fuchu City.
ひろきこそ、そろそろ休んだ方が。
いや、俺は大丈夫だ。
So long as there's no guarantee that man's still not chasing after us, we need to keep running. But how long can we keep this up? Why does that guy keep showing up before us anyway? Kakeru moaned softly.
痛むか?
なんのこんくらい唾つけときゃ治るって。
Kakeru tries to crack a joke like always, but his words come out weak and laced with pain. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see Kakeru's left thigh, the one that got cut up earlier. His blood is seeped into his jeans, dyeing them a grotesque hue. This really isn't something you can joke about. But even if I tell him that, Kakeru will just deny it and try to act cheerful. I simply shut my mouth and adjust Kakeru's position to make him easier to carry. Reina exasperatedly says,
かける、全然大丈夫なんかじゃないでしょ。
いやいや、ほんと、全然大丈夫だって。
As expected, Reina's not buying it.
そう。ひろき、こっちへ。
Reina suddenly takes Kakeru and drags him a little to the left.
おい、レナ。
いいから、
Perplexed by Reina's actions, I don't say anything. Reina drags us over to the left side of a narrow alley. There's a tiny gap in between two tall buildings that we're just barely able to squeeze into.
ここで少し休む。異論は聞かない。オッケー。
レーナちゃんにはかなわないな。
Even Kakeru gives up before Reina's stubbornness. We slowly set Kakeru down on the ground, and then sit down ourselves, making sure we're not visible from the main street. I feel the tiredness start draining away the moment I sit down on the asphalt. Reina stares at me for a while before muttering a single, "Ah," as if she'd just remembered something and takes a small package out from her jacket pocket.
やっぱり溶けちゃってるわね。
それ、なんだ?
チョコレート。疲れた時は甘いものでしょ。
Reina offers me a piece. It looks like each piece is wrapped in its own individual wrapper.
本当はもっとちゃんとしたものを食べた方がいいんだけど。っていうか、溶けちゃってるけど。
いや、 十分だ。ありがとな。
I give Reina a small nod and take the chocolate. I can tell just from feeling the wrapper that the chocolate inside is melted. It's just like Reina to worry about something like that, though I personally don't care if it's melted or not. I carefully remove the wrapper, making sure none of the chocolate spills out, and put a piece in my mouth. As the chocolate dissolves in my mouth, the sweetness of it spreads throughout my body.
チョコレートがこんなに美味しく感じたのは生まれて初めてだ。
It feels like it's been ages since I've last gotten any sleep or had a proper meal.
疲れてる証拠ね。当たり前だけど。
Reina unwraps another piece of chocolate and offers it to Kakeru with a gesture that seems to say, "Here you go." Kakeru takes the chocolate and puts it into his mouth with a grimace.
かけるの傷、早く手当てした方がいい。
I nod and bend my right thumb as if I'm holding a card in my hand. The camera in the MRD picks up on the motion and puts a card-sized AR display in my hand, showing my home screen. I flick my thumb and the screen swaps to one with a large amount of icons lined up. I scroll until I get to the Maps application. Touch the icon with my thumb, and after a short loading screen, a 3D map of the area is projected into the air. Man, if you wanted to know how the MRDs work, we're getting real in-depth now. I tap the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner, bringing up the search feature. A text field pops up, along with a virtual keyboard directly underneath. If you match your keystrokes to the keys in the virtual keyboard, it'll type the letters you tap. And this isn't used just in MRDs either, but for looking at books in a bookstore, filling out government forms, and all sorts of other things. There's no tactile response that makes it feel like you're typing on a real keyboard, but it doesn't take up any space and can be deployed anywhere. Overall, it's far more convenient than a real keyboard. I search the keywords hospital and surgery, and a number of red dots start popping up on the 3D map. I've turned off my GPS functionality, so my MRD is not able to pinpoint my location, but it estimates us at a point pretty far from the station. From the looks of it, we were about 7 kilometers southeast of the university we escaped from yesterday. We only managed to get this far even after a whole night of walking. Depressed at how little ground we've covered, I nevertheless continue looking for a hospital we can send Kakeru to.
外科のある病院は半径1キロ以内に2軒あるな。どっちも診察時間は9時からか。
I checked the time on my MRD. It's 7:48 a.m. It'll be a little bit over an hour before the hospital opens.
他に救急受付があるところは。
おい、待てよ。
Kakeru grabs my hand to stop me from using my MRD and looks at me with a strange expression.
病院なんて人が大勢集まってくるし、待合室にはニュース映像だって流れてる。ヒロキもレイナちゃんもそんな場所に顔を出したら大変なことになるぞ。
I knew that without having to be told. I glance over at Reina. Noticing my gaze, Reina nods. Reina knew it too. But just like how Kakeru couldn't just leave me be when I went out to fight that guy, I can't leave Kakeru behind now. That was the first time I'd ever seen Kakeru be so frank with his feelings. Even when Serrano died, Kakeru had acted as cheerful as always. Always joking with that cheerful expression. That's Kakeru. Honestly, it kind of annoyed me just how cheerful Kakeru always acted. And, well, I was a little jealous of how he was able to stay like that. Every time I tried to kill myself, I'd always find myself waking up on a hospital bed. Kakeru had called the ambulance for me every time. And every time I woke up, he was there, typing away on his keyboard. Then he'd just casually start talking as if he'd run into me on the street. To say that I never realized how he truly felt, I now know that that would be a lie. I just pretended not to notice so I could wallow in despair and self-pity. I'd been a pathetic fool. And Kakeru had always been watching over me, making sure I never actually killed myself. He put his own grief aside for me. And when I tried to do a suicidal rush against that guy, Kakeru was the one who stopped me. So I'm going to be the one to save Kakeru this time.
何度か病院の入り口近くまでカケルを運べないか。そこからならカケルも一人で病院まで。
おい、今そんなことしてる余裕なんてないだろうよ。
Kakeru stubbornly refuses to budge.
まだやらなきゃいけねえことが残ってるじゃんかよ。システムのクラッキングなんてお前やレイナちゃんにはできない。そうだろ。
それはそうだが。
ここまで来て目的を投げ出すなんてことは許さねえからな。
Well, it's true that we still have a goal. And Kakeru is indispensable in achieving it.
確かにカケルの言うことにも一理ある。病院以外で落ち着いてカケルの手当てができるような場所を考えましょう。応急手当てだけでもしておいた方がいい。
わかった。俺の負けだよ。
分かってくれりゃいいさ。
But where could we go that would work?
手当てができるような場所か。俺やレイナの家はもちろんダメだよな。
間違いなく
多分
Whoop, sorry.
俺んちもやばいな。
そうね。大学に戻るわけにもいかないし。
The only real places we can get into without needing to identify ourselves via MRD would be a net cafe or a karaoke place. But those facilities all still have surveillance cameras, and if anyone reported us, we'd have nowhere to run to. The sky is starting to brighten. Looks like morning's here. With every morning that passes, the moment Serrano's memories will be digitomed gets closer and closer. Kakeru and Reina aren't complaining at all, even though they're probably exhausted. We're too worn out to keep running around, trying to avoid people for much longer. What can we do? What do we do? Isn't there anyone that can help us? That's it. There's... Whoop. What did I just do? Oh, there's one person we can turn to. I right-clicked. She was the one who started worrying about us when we became wanted men. Serrano's only family member.
Aoi-san.
When I mutter her name, Kakeru slowly closes his eyes.
葵さんか。
現実的に考えて、今俺たちが頼れる人は葵さんしかいない。
But if we ask Aoi-san for help, that means we'll be getting her mixed up in all this mess. I'm sure Reina and Kakeru are thinking the same thing, as they furrow their brows at the mention of Aoi-san.
信頼できるのは確かではあるけど。
だからって葵さんに甘えてもいいのかと言われると微妙だよな。
Back when we visited her house, Aoi-san said it was okay to ask her for anything. But I'm sure she didn't say that with a situation like this in mind. We don't know when that man will show up again. In the worst case scenario, Aoi-san might be put into danger. The police have to know about Aoi-san too. If she chooses to shelter us and they find out, then she might end up being labeled a criminal too. I have to ask myself, is it really worth putting Serrano's beloved sister in danger just to save ourselves? After thinking about it for a bit, I voiced my opinion.
確かに葵さんが危険に巻き込まれる可能性はないとは言えない。でも今の状況で頼れるのは やっぱり葵さんしかいないと思うんだ。まずはカケルの手当てを頼んで、それから次の手を考えるまで少しの間かくまってもらおう。迷惑をかけずに済むくらいのほんの少しだけだ。レイナ、カケル、頼む。
Reina and Kakeru lapse into thought, and after a while, Kakeru finally opens his mouth.
お前本気なんだな。
あ
I look Kakeru right in the eyes.
わかった。私はヒロキのプランでいい。
ありがとう、レイナ。
Kakeru looks at me curiously when I thank Reina.
お前がそんなにマジで俺に何かを言ってくる日が来るなんてな。俺もお前の提案に乗るぜ。
そうか。なんていうか、
I suddenly start to feel embarrassed. This will be the first time I've ever said these words to Kakeru. I love you, Kakeru. Nevertheless, they need to be said right now.
ありがとな、カケル。
なんか今すげえむずかゆい感じしたわ。
俺もだ。
Kakeru's laughter is infectious, and I smile too. I feel like the gloom that has settled over my heart is cleared up just a little.
二人が良ければ出発したいんだけど。
ああ、行こ
We all head towards Aoi-san's house. Alright, so this is where I got to on that first recording, and I guess it wasn't 5 minutes, it was like 17, but whatever. Whoops. Anyway, after this, I don't really know what's happening. Maybe it's because it's still early morning, but we managed to make it to Aoi-san's house without being spotted by anybody. But now that we're in front of her gates, I hesitate to ring the doorbell. If we go in right now, we'll be getting her involved in something dangerous. Even Reina, who unhesitatingly rang the doorbell last time, is looking reluctant. Kakeru, who's on my back right now, is silent as well. But the longer we stand here, the greater the chance someone might find us. This was my idea, so then I'll be the one to drag Aoi-san into our problems as well. I slowly raise my hand to the doorbell. The sound of the doorbell echoes loudly as I ring it. Worried someone might have heard, I once again look around to make sure there's nobody here. It's okay, there's no one else around. When the bell stops ringing, I just silently stand there staring at the intercom. The silence stretches on for what feels like eternity. Aoi-san, please answer.
はい。
It's the same voice I heard a few days ago.
楠原ですが。
ヒロキ？
すみません。俺たち
ちょっとそこで待ってて。
Before I can even finish talking, Aoi-san hangs up the intercom. A moment later, the front door opens and Aoi-san comes running out.
ヒロキ、心配してたのよ。
Aoi-san takes my hand in hers and grasps it tightly.
カケルのその足はどうしたの？
Aoi-san notices Kakeru's injury and grimaces.
ちょっとした怪我で。
ちょっとどころじゃないでしょ。血だらけじゃない。とにかくみんな早く中に入って。
すみません。俺たちが来たことで葵さんまで危険に巻き込んでしまう可能性もあるし、
I feel like she
迷
clearly
惑だとは
doesn't
思うん
care.
ですけど。
何バカなこと言ってるの。
Aoi-san looks angry for a moment before her usual calm expression returns to her face.
今は何も言わないでいいから。
葵さん。
誤解が解けるまでいくらでもここにいたらいい。
ありがとうございます。
早く入りなさい。
I exchange glances with Reina, and she nods. Aoi-san didn't turn us away. It feels as if our situation is finally improving a little. After Aoi-san tends to Kakeru's wounds, we go up to Serrano's room.
とりあえず座るか。
This is the only picture of the house we have. We have to sit in here. We put Kakeru down on a cushion near the bed and sit opposite of him. Reina naturally sits down to my right.
なんか不思議な感じだな。俺たちがま
Wow.
た空野の部
He
屋
even
に
washed his pants. Look, they're clean. There's no blood in them at all.
まあな。
Kakeru stretches out his injured leg. He spends a long time looking like he's trying to find the right words to say, but eventually he just hangs his head.
かける
For once, Kakeru is silent. Seeing him like this, I become unable to say anything either and remain silent. Reina looks at us both and keeps talking like normal.
葵が私たちを受け入れてくれてよかった。
そうだな。他のみんなは大丈夫かな。
My thoughts turn to Akane, Emma, and Haruna. I can't believe we were so pathetic. Now that we finally found a place we can relax for a bit, I can start thinking about what happened to them. Oh yeah, I'd almost forgotten, but Haruna gave us her MRD contact info. Maybe I should send her a message. I'm considering it as I begin to power up my MRD. But those policemen who came after us back there were definitely not proper policemen. So it's probably reasonable to assume that Harun is still being detained by those people. They might be expecting us to try and contact her. In which case, it's probably best not to try contacting her for at least a few days. I take my hand back off my MRD, deciding against calling Haruna.
茜とエマの二人ならなんとか逃げられたと信じたいけど。
あの二人はあの男と対等にやり合ってた。春菜だって警察の訓練を受けてるはずだし、死ぬ確率が一番高そうな俺たちがまだ生きてるんだから、あの三人だってまだ生きてるはずだ。
If something happens to them... No, let's not think about that. As long as we're all still chasing after the truth behind the JCO. Japan Connect Organization. I'm sure we'll all meet again somewhere. And when we do, we'll all share a lively meal like we did back in the truck.
確かにそうね。3人とも無事であることを願いましょう。
ああ、きっと無事だ。
While we converse, Kakeru looks as if his thoughts are somewhere else entirely. Unconcerned, Reina still addresses him like usual.
かける、怪我はどう？
ああ、葵さんがしっかり手当てしてくれたし、そのうち良くなるさ。
Kakeru smiles faintly at her, before lapsing back into silence.
でも、ちゃんと休まないと傷が回復しないわよ。ひろきも、せっかくだから今のうちに横になっておいたら？
それは、そうだよな。
Reina's casual attitude belays her concern. Belies? Maybe. But I really don't feel like sleeping right now. It's not there. Something that should be in our world is noticeably absent. I'm sure the reason Kakeru's silent is because he feels it too.
そうだ。
I activate my MRD to call forth the one other person that belongs here. Before long, Serrano's figure materializes.
あれ？ここ、私の部屋？
It must be really confusing to be her, you know? I mean, I guess you're just memories after all, but still, you know? Like randomly arriving and where am I at now? What is this? Serrano's able to tell where she is with just a glance. I gently put my MRD down on the cushion to the left of me. Serrano sits down on the cushion. I explain everything that's happened at Tokyo Graduate Research Institute to Serrano.
そっか。きっとみんな無事だよね。
Serrano examines her surroundings.
なんだかここでこうしてみんなで集まるのもすごく久しぶりな感じがするね。
Serrano smiles nostalgically as she examines her room.
かけるくんはよくその場所でノート PC で何か難しそうなことに熱中してて、ヒロくんはあっちの壁にもたれかかって考え事をするのが好きで、それに今はレイナちゃんもいてくれて、なんかこういうのいいね。
そうね。この部屋、サラノらしくて私も好きよ。
Think Serrano's mouth forgot to load.
そう嬉しいな。
Despite her words, Serrano looks around sadly. It's the same scene, with the same people. The furniture's in the same place it always is, and things are scattered around the room like usual. Serrano's here, Kakeru's here, I'm here, and our new friend Rain is here too. Everything's as it should be, and yet it's not. Something's fundamentally different from before. All of us gathering here like this only serves to further emphasize that point. Kakeru and Serrano are both looking in different directions, completely silent. After staring at me for a while, Reina suddenly straightens up.
どうした？
ごめんなさい。
え？
私が JCO に行った時、もっと早くあの実験の存在に気づいていれば、そしてどうにかして止められていれば、ヒロキを巻き込んでしまったり、カケルが怪我をしたりすることもなかった。
Reina bites her lips, distressed.
私の落ち度がこの結果を生んでしまった。
それは違うんじゃないか。お前は人を助けたくて研究を進めてたんだろ。
でも結果は人を助けるどころか傷つけるようなことをしていた。マイクロチップのことも自分で何とかしようとして、結局そのことでヒロキを巻き込んでしまった。私の感知してないところでだって、きっと多くの人たちをすでに巻き込んでしまったはず。
それはお前の研究を悪用した奴らのせいだろ。
私たちの研究を悪用しようとする人間が現れる日がいつか必ず来る。だから君がこの研究を正しい方向に導いてほしい。もう長くないって分かってから先生が口癖のように言ってた。確かに自分の研究が誰かを助けることにつながればいいとは思ってた。でも今思うと私は先生が託してくれた期待にちゃんと応えられてるかどうか、そのことしか考えてなかった。私は自分を過信してた。自分は周囲にいる誰よりもうまくできてるって本気で思ってた。どうして気づけなかったの？私は。
Reina starts trembling. The words Professor Toya left his disciple in his final years. Those words alone are enough to see just how much he trusted in Reina. But precisely because she was trying to live up to those expectations, she was too late in realizing the evil intentions of those around her. Reina looks like she's about to cry as she hugs her knees. But those expectations are too big for one girl to fulfill on her own.
俺もさ、なんであの時気づくことができなかったんだろうって思うことがあって、俺もこれは自分の責任なんだってずっと思ってて、うまくまとまらないんだけど。
Reina's not looking at me, but it feels like she's quietly waiting for me to keep going. I carefully choose my words before continuing.
でもこれは自分の責任なんだなんて考えてた俺はすごいうぬぼれてたんだなって思ってさ。ある意味悔しいけど、本人がどんなにそうであることを望んでても自分だけがその全ての責任の対象になれるなんてこと不可能なんじゃないかって。
It's true that things have taken a turn for the worse, and that some part of it is Reina's fault. Maybe if someone had been there to lend her a hand, things might have entered differently. Entered? Okay. But it's still not too late to lend a hand. I've been saved many times by Kakeru, Serrano, and Reina too on my way here.
だから先生との約束のことも今こうなってるのはレイナ一人のせいじゃないと俺は思う。
One person can't shoulder all the responsibility. If they think they can, then they're not aware enough of their own surroundings. Today's events taught me that.
そうだよ。それにレイナちゃんの研究のおかげで少なくとも一人助かってるやつを俺は知ってるよ。
Kakeru follows up after me. That's true. It's only thanks to Reina's microchip that I'm here right now.
レイナちゃんはとても責任感が強いんだね。
そんなこと。
レイナちゃん見てたらわかるよ。大切な人との約束のために今までずっと一人で頑張ってたんだよね。それは簡単にできることじゃないよ。
Reina looks a bit surprised at Serrano's words, but then
ありがとうみんな。
her expression brightens just a little. I know it's not an easy thing to accept all at once. Instead of regretting what you could or should have done, it's more important to think about how to do better from now on. It's easy to understand that in my head. But still, we're faced with a reality we don't want to accept. So we can't stop thinking about the things that we weren't able to do to prevent it from happening. However, it looks like Serrano's words are at least able to give Reina some peace. I'm a little relieved, and also a little surprised. The way Serrano talked to Reina was so human. When you call her name, she responds with her usual gentle smile. I keep forgetting this isn't the real Serrano sitting here next to me. But at the same time, I'm constantly reminded that she's nothing but an amalgamation of data. Why did Serrano say we shouldn't meet anymore back then? If I could just find the answer to that question, I might be able to accept that she's no longer alive. No, maybe I won't be able to even then. I might just end up regretting not saying anything to her even more, and blame myself all over again. Even then, I needed to know.
さてと。
Kakeru takes his laptop out of his bag.
おい、お前は怪我人なんだからまだ休んでろよ。
いいの。俺にしかできない技を使うんだからな。
なんだよそれ。教えてくれりゃ俺にだって。
いいから。
Kakeru obstinately refuses to hand over his laptop. I'm sure Kakeru is wrestling his own thoughts with his own thoughts too. So I decide to let him be. And besides, even though I was gonna say, even I could do it, I already know it's not something I can learn so quickly.
もう一度確かめたいことがあるんだけど、かける、私の名前が書かれていた報告書のファイルだけをそうとして取り出すことはできる？
おう、全部は無理だったけど、ゲットできたやつはとりあえずローカルに落としてあるぜ。
Kakeru brings up an AR display with his MRD. It shows a bunch of square icons. Kakeru operates his MRD, and the icons are replaced by a list of files. In list view, you can see all the file extensions and the last modified dates of the files. In addition, you can see the file names, along with the date and something that looks like an ID.
これ全部あの実験のデータなのか。
ほとんどそうだけど、メールとかテキストデータで抜き出せるものもとりあえず全部落としといたから、ちょっと整理が必要だな。
ありがとうかける。じゃあちょっと見てみる。
Reina starts scrolling through the files, briefly checking their contents. She then sorts them by file name and opens up a few of them to read. Reina's mouth starts moving soundlessly as she reads through them. She looks shocked at some parts and frowns at others. The specific kind of AR display Reina is reading on right now is called a display sleeve. In order to prevent third parties from viewing your AR display from behind you or to the side of you, the display sleeve is an embedded technology that makes AR displays contents invisible unless viewed from a specific angle. Alright, I think we have those for monitors. It doesn't let people behind the display see its content, so I can't read what's going on. Judging from Reina's expression, and the kinds of experiments we already read about though, it doesn't look like much fun to read anyway. Eventually, Reina breathes a long sigh, stretches a bit, and brings up an AR display from her own MRD. Reina keeps her finger held on one of the files in Kakeru's display for a few seconds. The file she selected starts floating a bit above the other files. Reina moves her finger and the file follows it, leaving the AR display entirely. Reina then slides her finger back to her own AR display. The file splits into two like a cell dividing, and the copied file slides into Reina's AR display. Then she takes her finger off the file and returns it to its original position in Kakeru's AR display. Reina repeats the process, copying a few more files into her MRD. She stops halfway and asks Kakeru a question. He nods, and brings up a virtual keyboard underneath his AR display and starts typing on it. Suddenly the list of file displayed shrinks. Wow, man. She can, like, move files on her computer, dude! Serrano looks at Reina with admiration. I guess it should be expected of someone who probably uses these things all the time for research. But Reina is really skilled with her fingers. Maybe it's because of all the accumulated fatigue, but my consciousness starts flickering in and out as I watch them work. It looks like Reina's not going to be done for a while. I guess I'll take a short nap. Practically dozing already, I close my eyes.